Welcome to this module of Site Installation MOP. By going through this module, you shall be aware about the procedure and guidelines which should be followed for site installation. Let's look at the agenda. This module covers 5 submodules. The first submodule shall cover the introduction part of MOP. Then there shall be insight into instructions and guidelines which should be followed before going to site, on site, and before leaving the site. At the end, we will have examples on cabling, which shall cover handling, routing, termination, and labeling of different types of cable. Let's move to the introduction part. So, what is MOP? MOP means a Method of Procedure document. This content is agreed between Nokia and the customer as guidance for successful site implementation. MOP covers all important aspects and procedures which should be followed during the site implementation. It is important to notice that MOP content needs to be verified against real field implementation to ensure the successful completion of all tasks according to accurate quality criteria. MOP should be followed for any site implementation work to meet accurate quality criteria. Generally, deviation from MOP is not allowed, but in exceptional cases, if any deviation is needed, approvals should be requested from the Nokia project team before moving ahead. Site process, checklist before going to site. Now let us see what are the guidelines and checklists which should be followed. Site access and secured work permit. Identify Nokia equipment hardware configuration and documents. All equipment and hardware proof of delivery at site. Team management. All required tools are available. Identification of starting time and site scope of work before moving to the site. Installation tools checklist. Proper tools need to be used for installation. List of appropriate tools and metals are specified in MOP and product documentation. Improper use of tools can cause site quality problems, which can become costly and time-consuming for the project. Additional important checkpoints. In addition to previously mentioned guidance, please have a look at some other important checkpoints as shown on the slide. First of all, are the key support and remote support center contacts being named? What is the active working and maintenance time window to avoid any service impacts on the live network? Is the MOP content clarified and approved prior to any planned site activity? Is the share of roles and responsibilities defined between the customer, Nokia, and service supplier? Safety checklist. The health and safety check is the #1 priority. Good care should be taken during the site implementation. Here's an example of a health and safety checklist, but please note that the safety checklist content needs to be modified according to local specific regulations. The technical site survey will define the latest success in site implementation. The technical site survey guarantees that the site is ready for implementation and we have the right information for the site solution design and material definition. Especially existing site conditions need to be carefully observed to ensure that the new equipment can be installed without any surprises. Once arriving at the site, it's important to check the delivered products and materials and their condition to avoid any problems or sudden shortage of critical items during site installation. Check delivered boxes for any visible damage during the delivery. In case of damage, it needs to be investigated and reported. The right materials and quantities need to be checked against the predefined material report and content of shipment. Again, if any missing item is observed, inform Nokia about the shortage. The right handling of equipment is important to avoid any damage to sensitive electrical components. Wear ESD straps and shoes according to product handling guidelines. Proper usage of tools mitigates any quality issues during installation. During the installation activity, it's important to follow up on product installation and handling instructions, such as grounding requirements, limits of cable bending radius, cable labeling and marking, and connectors, crimping tools, and metals. Antenna installation. Antennas are typically big-sized products and include several small items such as bolts, nuts, and washers. You will find several practical installation rules to be followed, like never leave an antenna on the floor or at ground level without some material between the surface and the back of the antenna. The right lifting methods and safety equipment need to be utilized to avoid any further damage to the antenna or other equipment on site. After the site implementation, it's important to document the as-built status of the installed equipment and site. Updates to any previous site information need to be recorded with good care, such as the site inventory covering all installed hardware, its serial numbers, site layout drawings, and technical reports for commissioning and power values. Always follow the site readiness and quality checklist for the complete set of reporting requirements. What makes a site folder complete? Quality assessment should be done by certified quality engineers. The site quality checklist will include a wide area of items to be verified. Just to mention, site photographs, base station installation and cabling, power cabling and termination, optical fiber routing and securing, feeder connection termination and grounding, antenna installation, directions and tilting, complete site view with overall completion. Here are some examples of pictures from site folders. On this slide, you can see images of power cabling and grounding, power cabling installation views. These images are showing feeder cable lines from different views. Other images of feeder cables going to the top of the tower. Site overview, image overview is also important. This is an example of common content of the site checklist. Do remember that the site's checklist content may vary project by project due to the different customer requirements or local regulations. Some examples of cabling. The power distribution system related to power cable diameter dimensioning is based on the required power load and cable length. Circuit breakers need to be selected according to cable dimensions. Right power cable color coding to be used according to country specifications. Grounding cable. The same good practices apply to the grounding system where local instructions have to be followed with color coding. Optical cables. Optical fiber cables are sensitive to dust and to bending radius. Therefore, the right installation and cleaning methods need to be followed. Extra care needs to be taken with termination points, such as removing IP seal caps just before the final termination and cleaning the ports with optical fiber kits. Site cable installation techniques. Well-prepared cable routing gives immediately an impression of professional staff and high work quality. As seen in these images, cable fixing, marking, and labeling, and IP sealing is well done. Thank you from my side.